Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker will introduce new Force powers. This is confirmed by JJ Abrams. Now, I think I know what Force powers we're talking about here, too. There have been articles discussing this before, and if it is, this is cringy. This is cringy indeed. So, hey there. So today I want to return to the biggest trash fire on the planet. That's right. You guessed it. Disney's Star Wars. I love talking about this stuff, too, because it is so freaking cringy. I mean, the more that we find out about this, the more that we know there are missteps and missteps and missteps following along a path that, well, it turns fans off. I mean, sure, this thing could get people fired, but beyond that, it turns fans off. Now, before we get into this brand new power, and like I said, there's another article out there that kind of confirms what it could be, what it should be, and really what it sounds like it's going to be. If you like this kind of content, you want to help an umbrella out, help us with our interactions. That means subscribing, that means sharing videos, but it also just means liking, commenting, things like that. Also, when you smack your head against the keyboard in frustration, don't pause the video because letting it have that little extra playtime, yeah, seriously, thank you. I appreciate people that do all of this stuff and more. You are the greatest folks out there. So Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker will introduce new Force powers. Now, what's funny about this, director JJ Abrams revealed that he added some new space magic tricks to the mix. Space magic tricks. I mean, we have an entire religion built around this stuff, but again, it's all space magic tricks. Doesn't that sound good? We either have a new cereal that's being added here. Ooh, tricks are for kids, tricks are for kids. Either that, or we have a new Las Vegas act out there. Watch Rey as she pulls a rabbit out of her hat. You know, fun times. Now in this, he says, it was really important that we not just redo the things you've seen, but add new elements, which we knew will infuriate some people and thrill others. Among those things are not just new ways of doing sort of traditional must-have sequences, whether it's chases or lightsaber battles or what have you. We wanted to make sure that this picture also showed aspects of the Force in ways that go beyond what you've seen before. So you know you're going to get that. Why do you get that too is actually important. It's because JJ Abrams has to leave his mark on this. He talks about this too. He said in a comment on the responsibility of making his own contributions to the Star Wars mythology. I can't speak to what it means about the future of Star Wars, but what I can say is that you don't want to come to this movie to see everything you've seen before. You want to make sure that you're bringing elements that are like expanding the story, even as it is brought to a close. Yeah, we want to see you bring in brand new things that we don't want while going out and digging up people like the Emperor. You really, really know us, don't you, JJ? You really know us indeed. So with this, we had an article talking about the new shocking powers. This came from Inverse, and I think that this is probably the best step forward, at least for some of those powers. Now, this talks about a novel that's out there. It talks about here with the Force collector and the protagonist in that it starts to experience visions when in contact with anything Jedi related. Now later in the novel, the protagonist sees visions of Luke training with Obi-Wan in A New Hope after hopping aboard the Millennium Falcon. The protagonist's journey has a lot in common with Rey, and his story seems to be retracing her steps in discovering more about the Jedi and his connection to them. Now here's the kicker. The novel may have hinted that Rey developed these same Force powers in The Rise of Skywalker. Now with this, they talk about certain things that have popped up, the echoes to it and on. And look at this here. It's not so far-fetched. You know, the novelist recently revealed to Sci-Fi Wire that parts of his novel were altered. He had to be asked to remove entire section detailing the protagonist's visit to a particular planet because this stuff, it hit too close to home. So, according to the novelists themselves, JJ Abrams was asking them to remove things from this. I mean, that really says something, doesn't it? You need to remove that because you know a little too much. If they know a little too much, what then? Still, the rest of the story remained largely intact, which means the protagonist this story may have also meant to echo Rey's. Another clue that Rey may develop similar Force visions comes from a Jedi Fallen Order. Oh boy, fun times there. Where in that, we essentially have the ability to sense past events by touching specific objects. Does that sound familiar? Now, we've already had that introduced in a way too, or at least we thought we did in The Force Awakens. I mean, if you think about the way that came up, it could have already been introduced, but we don't really know what happened. Why? Because JJ Abrams can't tell us good stories. Now, keep in mind here that George Lucas has said that he wanted a new Force power introduced in every Star Wars film, and knowing he consulted with director JJ Abrams on Episode 9, it's likely he wanted to give these new Force powers to Rey. Yeah, that's not how it happened, and don't bring Lucas into that. I mean, after Bob Iger and after Kathleen Kennedy threw him under the bus, they made it very, very clear what they thought. Yeah, don't bring him up and say, hey, this is a shout out to him. This is a shout out to the ego of other people that don't understand how to put together good shows. Now, sure, seeing visions might not be entirely new to her, but the previous films didn't suggest that this was a rare skill among Force users. That could change in Episode 9. It can't be a coincidence that both Force Collector and Fallen Order introduced characters that could see and sense past events while in proximity to Jedi objects. There. Now, we have other rumors that come up in this too, but this gives you an idea of that power. Now, I love how they also go in with new articles, and they spin that this is normal. Abrams' idea isn't exactly a new one. We all thought we had a pretty good handle on the Force going into Return of the Jedi, and then the Emperor pulled some Force lightning out of his hooded, that changed the game. Phantom Menace introduces Force super speed into an opening sequence, an incredible technique that not a single Jedi ever uses again. It also introduced the Force leap, as demonstrated by Obi-Wan Kenobi in the climactic lightsaber handicap match against Darth Maul. Now then, of course, we have The Last Jedi brought in, and well, what that's going to add to. I want you to think about how this stuff comes together, though. Return of Jedi, if we're talking about the Emperor here, I remember when I first saw that, and I remember how exciting that was, because the Emperor was shrouded in secrecy. Everyone wanted to know about it, wanted to know also how this character could be more powerful than Darth Vader, so of course, we have a new power attributed to this person. No one questioned that either. Everybody, in fact, was excited about it. When that Force lightning came out, thought, yeah, that is awesome. Now, when you think about the prequels as well, whether you like prequels or not in that, the way that the powers were introduced, they weren't cringy. That was something there. They were also added in for tactical reasons. You going in and honing your body, honing your skills and on. Now, then they list The Last Jedi, and they talk about the truly amazing Force stunts added, including an enhanced version of the telepathic communication Luke had with Darth Vader and Princess Leia, and Luke throwing a full-on astral projection of himself halfway across the galaxy. Now, when you think about how that was added in, you tell me, was that added in a good way? And does that bode well if we're going in and we're comparing what could have been done with way back when to what will be done now? Because when I think about that, I think that they missed the point. And well, I know that a certain director definitely did miss the point in Ruin Johnson. But when we're talking Jar Jar Abrams, I don't think that he even has original ideas. I think it's all carbon copy imitation, along with, let's put that thing underwater. That'll make it better. But anyhow, you tell me what you think about this stuff. So closing, I want to thank you for showing up. I want to thank you for participating. As I say every time, you make these endeavors possible. That's what companies like Disney fail to respect in all of this. You as a consumer, you bring a certain thing to the table, and it's not just the money that you bring to it. It's the nostalgia. It's the attachment to brands, something that took a long time for them to break. But you know what? They're breaking it off at record speed now. I mean, it's absolutely crazy to watch. We're not just talking about Star Wars either. We're talking about things that are controlled like comics with Marvel. We're talking about other companies that follow suit. shoot, all these people, again, they forget who empowers that, and well, that's to their detriment. I don't want to be like that. I want to take every time to thank you for showing up. Thank you for your consideration with this. I also ask you to leave your comments, pro or con. You don't have to agree about this stuff. Closing too, if you want to help out with interactions, it's definitely appreciated, but you just spending your time here, that is appreciated as well. So anyway, again, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being part of this stuff, and we'll be doing this again very soon. So keep your eyes out. Thank you.